To say Frank Zappa was a little out there, well, of course he was. He was a quirky guy, which you'll hear about in just a second. Our special guest knew him, and he said Frank Zappa was a clown. You'll hear him say it, but he means it in the best possible way. Peter Lewis of Moby Grape, remember 805, It's a Beautiful Day Today? Mr. Blues, Omaha. They were a great band in the 60s that played the Monterey Pop Festival. Well, in this one, we talk about Frank Zappa and a lot more on Rock History Music. Some very interesting facts about Frank Zappa. He had an unusual childhood hobby. As a kid, he had a fascination with chemistry and explosives. He often conducted experiments at home, creating various concoctions and occasionally causing minor explosions, much to his parents' concern. His anti-drug stance. Despite his avant-garde and often controversial persona, Zappa was a staunch opponent of drug use. He insisted on a drug-free environment for his band members and was very vocal about the negative impacts of substance abuse. Celebrity connections. Zappa had a unique friendship with Alice Cooper, whom he discovered and signed to his record label. Their bond was marked with bizarre antics, including a notorious incident where Zappa reportedly signed Cooper's band after a peculiar audition involving a chicken. Legal battles. Zappa was involved in a high-profile legal battle with a fan, Pauline Butcher, about an unauthorized biography that she wrote about him. Zappa's relentless pursuit really highlighted his fiercely protective stance on his personal life and his image. Run for president. In the early 1990s, Zappa announced his intention to run for president of the United States. His platform focused on government reform and individual liberties. Though his bid was more of a satirical critique of the political system, some fans thought it was serious. Frank Zappa's Ghost, is that, did you have an experience, or did you know Frank? Because that is a trippy song. I love that tune. Sorry to interrupt you, but tell me about that one. By the way, that's a big song that's done well on Spotify as well.
Oh, cool. Well, I met Frank, but everybody knew Frank, I mean, Frank, before he was at the Whiskey with the Mothers of Invention. And there was a place called Cantor's. It was a deli on Fairfax in LA. And everybody would go hang at Cantor's after their gigs. And which you go there. I had a gig up at Gazzari's. When Frank got off work, he'd go to Cantor's. Everybody go there and hang out together. Because like I say, in LA in those days, there weren't that many hippies either. There's only a couple of places you could go, if you're a hippie. I mean, they didn't really want you. You didn't feel welcome if you were trying to go and hang out at Scandia or something like that, that they still weren't into it, the counterculture. I mean, it was like, the establishment was hanging on for dear life because things were changing, Yeah. And so there was that. You had to, but we all would end up at Cantor's, and Frank would always be holding court in a booth because Frank was this great musician, so he had all these other musicians kind of like picking up on his energy, and the song just came from a memory of a dream about that, walking in there and having him go like that, come on over, because Frank was cool, man. He in those days, I think Frank was a clown, I mean, I think he knew how to, he'd do this ridiculous, sometimes Frank, I saw him on the Steve Allen show or something when he had short hair, and he was playing something like a bicycle. He brought a bicycle to play, and he was doing something with the bicycle, like letting go of the air in the tire to make it sound like it was farting or something, and doing it like, and just looking at it with a very straight face. And then Steve Allen couldn't figure out what this guy's doing, but he was making fun of the whole, he was making fun of his situation, which I think that's what a clown can do, make fun of himself. That's very cool.
You're in the dentist's office or doctor's office or some office. Someone's in the waiting room beside you. And I'll ask, like I said, everybody, What do you say if they say, "Hey, by the way, what do you do?" And some artists I talk to, their story, your story is large, is a lot of twists and turns, and it's a very interesting story.
Yeah.
But some people, and at a party, it's the same thing. You open up that can of worms. You say, if you say you're a musician, the next question is, would I know anything you would have done? Right. And then that's a whole other story as well. So
Right.
when someone asks you if you don't know them, what's your answer?
Oh yeah. Well, I just say I'm a musician, you know. Moby Grape, I'd never heard of him. I say great, and that is page 2, you know.
I Just Had You has a nice 50s vibe to it. Tell me about that tune.
Oh yeah, 50s vibe, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's a doo-wop, you know. Like I used to really like that. But it's also I try to get it to sound like Rick Nelson. I mean, how those songs were that he did, they're full of harmonies, and then he sang over it. And there's James Burton, of course, the best guitar player I ever heard. But just playing these cool licks, but not, like the '60s got where, there was a lot of guys playing a lot of notes. I mean, that I totally kind of, even in Moby Grape, I mean, but in the beginning of Moby Grape, we didn't do that. We had these really tight songs, that had parts, and the guy would play the same part every time we play the song, which I like, but then it got like Jam City, where you do all these, you try to take it, take it to the limit, but sometimes when you're trying to do that, you don't know when to stop, which I think, okay, we're spinning our wheels here, dude. It's time for, the script must go on.
Make sure you comment on our videos, subscribe to our channel, and share our videos. Like them as well. It makes such a big difference for the algorithm. If you want to make a donation to Rock History Music, there's a PayPal link at the very top of the description. And join our Patreon. You'll get early access to all our videos. We have a swag store where you can get a cap, a coat, T-top, or a T-shirt with either Rock History Music, Rock History Book, or if you're Canadian, Rock History Canada. These are all our channels, all in the description. I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music. Take good care of yourself.